Today's our topic is American literature with special emphasis on the Old Man and the Sea. Today we have with us in the studio Mr. Himanshu Srivastav from Anand Institute of PG Studies in Arts, Anand. We will be discussing on American literature in general, American characteristic of American literature, and then we will switch over to the Old Man and the Sea. We will also show you some clips from the movie The Old Man and the Sea. Now over to you, sir.
Thank you. Happy New Year to all of you. The post-Diwali session. I welcome you all. Today, our topic is American literature with special emphasis on Old Man and the Sea, written by Ernest Hemingway. As said by Sir, we'll be having schedules, sections of different parts. First, we'll be discussing the American literature. Then later on, we'll be switching over to characteristics. But basically, I would like to show you certain writers of the American literature. On your screen, you have Ernest Hemingway, the writer of The Old Man and the Sea, Herman Melville, Mark Twain, William Faulkner. These are certain front covers of the books written by Ernest Hemingway: A Farewell to Arms, From Whom the Bell Tolls, To Torrance, The Sun Also Rises. Let us switch over to the characteristics of American literature. But before that, we should just come to know that what basically America is all about and American literature is all about. American literature probably is divided into 4 to 5 sections. The first is the literature of the northern area. The second is the literature of the southern area. Then comes literature of Jews, that plays a very vital and a major role in forming the basic mentality of America, which is projected into the literature of Jews. Then slide please. Then later on we have literature of Holocaust, the black literature. This is probably the literature of Negroes, the black people, the original inhabitants of America. They were the one who started writing their own feelings, their own customs, ceremonies and all. Basically, it was into manuscript, and then later on they published it into the form of novels and other parts, and they came into a big banner called the black literature. Moving on to the characteristics of American literature, things that are very important for one to study for American literature. Slide please. It's a land of wealth. You all know it is not new for an Indian student, because each and everyone aspires to go to America, because we consider America to be a land of wealth. It's totally different that now recession period is going on. One more phrase about America is very famous, is its melting pot. Why it is called melting pot? Because people from all over the world, all over the globe, they come and they melt into one plot. Third is individualism. This is very important characteristics of American literature, because here it pays a sharp contrast to the Indian mentality. Over in India, we have society that is more important, but into America, it is an individual who plays a vital role, a major role. And that is why individualism is one of the major characteristics of American literature. Moving on to the next characteristics is democracy. Democracy once again is very important, and it comes with individualism. Democracy is really observed in America. Then provincialism, narrow-mindedness. This probably was experienced by the pioneer writers of America. Pioneers who came from England, from Europe, and all on the other parts of the world. They, in fact, they have a kind of a narrow-minded feeling, and that is why provincialism becomes one of the major characteristics of American literature, the initial American literature. Optimism is one another characteristics of American literature, because optimism, optimistic nature, optimistic culture is what they imbibe into people. A ray of hope is always seen into people. So provincialism, optimism, then individualism plays a very vital role into the framing of American literature. This is something very important, because individual is always given more importance than the society. And that is why you will find that into all forms of literature of America, whether it may be drama, whether it may be a novel or a short story. They will focus on individualism, they will focus on optimism, they will focus on how he is away from the society and how faith is there. This is something that we will observe into our Old Man and the Sea also. Old Man and the Sea is written by Ernest Hemingway. This probably was a novel which brought great success to Ernest Hemingway. The story is very simple, but the story can be taken from different dimensions. What we are going to take today is, after discussing into nutshell the story, what we are going to take is how the major character of this novel, Santiago, raises himself to the level of a global hero. So we'll be discussing the characteristics of a global hero and thereby how Santiago fits into that frame of global hero. What happens is that Ernest Hemingway tells us that up to 84 days, old man, that is Santiago, has gone without catching a fish. He's a fisherman by profession. He lives in the coastal areas. He is unable to catch a single fish, though he is extraordinarily talented. He is the most skillful fisherman within the area. But a phrase that you all know, man proposes and God disposes, is something very true for Santiago, because he is the person whose good days are behind him. His wife is dead. Only a table, a chair, and a few things that he has in his tattered hut. He has no companion. For the first 40 days, a boy named Menolin, a very young boy compared to the old man, used to be on his boat, be on his skiff for fishing. But unfortunately, as they were unable to catch, as I mentioned earlier, that up to 84 days he was unable to catch any fish. After observing the first 40 days, the parents of Menolin, the boy, they said that Santiago is a shallow. That is the word that Hemingway has used. Shallow means the worst form of unlucky. And considering that, they pressurized the boy that you have to leave Santiago's skiff and go to a prosperous boat. So, though he was not willing, but he was forced to leave Santiago. Upon earning some money from the prosperous boat, but the boy was very faithful to Santiago. What he used to do, his daily job was, he used to get things ready for Santiago in the morning and used to wait for Santiago in the late evening so that he can, take all the things from the net and all those things, the bait and all from the skiff of Santiago. What they used to do daily is they used to go to a terrace cafe, where Martin, a fellow who is very humanitarian in attitude, used to give them a beer or coffee. And later on they used to go to their hut, wherein it was a daily schedule that the boy used to ask, what would you like to have into dinner? And Santiago used to say that I have yellow rice with fish. And by some or the other reason, or some, by some or the other, reason, he used to say that, yes, I have to go to take bait. He used to give gifts to Santiago. And so he used to come out of the hut, the boy, and thereby he used to go to Martin to get some food, because he was knowing that probably Santiago is lying, because he hasn't catched any fish. So how can there would be yellow rice and fish? He used to come with some or the other food, some food for Santiago and himself, and they used to eat. Santiago, though he feels that this is humility, but he thanks Martin for being so kind to him. What was their daily schedule then? They used to discuss the newspaper, the famous football player, the famous basketball player, I'm sorry, the hero of Santiago. They used to discuss that, and then Santiago used to sleep. Santiago, here's something, Ernest Hemingway wants to peep into the psyche of Santiago by mentioning, regularly that Santiago has only 2 dreams. Whenever he used to go sleep, he had 2 or 3 dreams. A scene that he has really witnessed in front of his naked eyes when he was young. Some lions playing on an island, a whale moving into the deep center, a deep sea, and then he used to get up and all. What happens is that once they go to the cafe restaurant, terrace cafe, and the young fishermen, they made fun of Santiago. That was the mental pain that he faced. A lot of mental pain. But he never retaliated. This is something that is very, very, very peculiar about Santiago. He never retaliated. On the contrary, he kept quiet and promised himself that one day I'll catch a bigger fish and prove myself that I'm the most skilled fisherman of the town. The older fishermen, they used to feel sympathy and empathy towards Santiago. Next day, he promises himself and he goes deep into the sea. Marilyn says bye to him, and then he crosses the line of danger. That is, he goes amidst the sea, wherein he is unable to look at the ocean or look at the land. The greener part of the land was all wiped out. The bait was down. He was praying to God that he would be able to catch the fish. He has developed a habit of self-talking. He talks to himself, he talks with the birds, he talks with everything else. Somehow he's able to catch a tuna fish, a 10-pound tuna fish, which he thinks would be a good thing, for bait, so that he will be able to catch a bigger fish. But by noon, the fathom line crosses 100 mark. The bait suddenly goes down, and Santiago realizes that the fish that was playing with the bait now has swallowed the bait, and it is of a considerable size. In order to catch it, he uses all his strength so that he could catch the fish. But the reverse happens over here. This is something very new, introduced by Ernest Hemingway. Instead of Santiago catching the fish, taking the fish, or what happens, the reversal happens. The fish starts moving and the skiff starts rowing. Santiago holds tightly the rope. While doing so, there are cramps into his hand, injuries into his hand, into his shoulders and all. But the struggle goes for 2 long days. Unbelievable. 2 long days the struggle goes on. He respects his opponent very much. This is something very, very, very sharp about Santiago. He respects the individual. He respects his opponent. He says that, yes, I respect you, but I'll kill you. This is determination in him. I'll be discussing through my slides later on, after my story gets over. Later on, what happens is that after 2 days of epic struggle, this is something it's an epic struggle of a fisherman. He's able to kill the marlin. The fish is marlin. As soon as he plunges the harpoon inside the head of marlin, it dives to show its strength. And oh my God, it is 2 feet longer than the skiff. Santiago is scared, but he's determined that yes, I will kill and improve myself. He kills it. Though he respects it, while his return journey, he communicates with the fish, though it is dead, that the people who will eat you, in fact, don't deserve you. because the struggle, the epic struggle that you have done, in fact, you should be saluted. You deserve a salute. But later on what happens is that from that harpoon, a trail of blood is left, which attracts a shark. Santiago is able to kill the shark also. But what happens is that more blood, more sharks. He thinks that, oh God, I should not be able to fight anymore. But unfortunately, he fights, and he fights. He feels sorry because nothing is left. The sharks, they start eating. The sharks, they eat half of the fish. And Santiago now doesn't want to look at the fish, the marlin, because only the head and the tail is left out. The rest is skeleton. This is the emotional pain that he feels. He goes back to his hut, sleeps there. Next day, people gather. They are shocked to see a 30 feet long skeleton. Manolin is he was crying because people have started searching Santiago. He is very happy that his master has come back. He brings coffee for him. The moment Santiago gets up, Manolin promises that now onwards I will fish with you. I will fish with you. This is the promise that Manolin gives. It doesn't matter whether my parents agree or disagree. Some tourists come and they mistake marlin as shark. And here the story ends. Now what basically, I have said in a nutshell, what basically Hemingway has tried to say is that it's a story about an existential hero in this absurd world where nothing goes according to him. Slide please. The qualities of a global hero are, I've already showed you in the chart, that global hero overcomes from mental pain, physical pain and emotional pain. Other qualities of a global hero are one who overcomes pain, one who has the feeling of forgiveness, one who has loyalty and equality in friendship, one who observes this loyalty and equality in friendship, one who is courageous, one who has bravery and tenacity in the face of adversity, and somebody who has faith within. These are certain qualities of global hero. And now what makes Santiago a global hero? Determination, loyalty, equality in friendship, bravery, faith, and his ability to overcome pain and persevere. And it is through these aspects that Santiago becomes a global hero. And he teaches the world a very, very important lesson. These are the three pains that he suffers from. The old man shows his strength by overcoming the pain that he has from the community's negative thought about him. I said you that when he used to go in the terrace, the young fishermen used to make fun of him. And that was the mental pain that he used to suffer. But he overcame it because he was determined. Then comes the physical pain. This is from the fishing line on his back and hands. His hands are cramped. He is weak. The only thing that is young is his eyes, the color of sea. But this is what Hemingway mentions. His eyes were the color of sea blue. They were undefeated. They were charming. They were energetic. But when he is able to catch a fish, he feels himself very weak. His hands are cramped. There are bruises, cuts, shoulders and all. So this is the physical pain that he suffers from. But he overcomes from it because he is able to catch the fish, kill the fish, the marlin. The third is the emotional pain. When the sharks, they eat away, that is the emotional pain. Still he gets up. The prize fish has been eaten by the shark. But still he decides that yes, I will go with the skeleton to prove that yes, I am yet not defeated. Mental pain. The narrator, I would like to quote, "They sat on the terrace and many of the fishermen made fun of the old man and he was not angry." Even though the old man was hurt, it is not that everybody is humiliated, but he was hurt by inside. But he remarks that the other men meek. He does not let them see his aggravation. This is something very peculiar about a global hero. You should not be aggravated. You should be cool, calm. Instead, make a promise. Determine yourself that yes, I will prove myself right. I would just like to show you a clip over here.
He was an old man who fished alone in a skiff in the Gulf Stream, and he had gone 84 days now without taking a fish. In the first 40 days, a boy had been with him, but after 40 days without a fish, the boy's parents had told him that the old man was now definitely and finally Salao, which is the worst form of unlucky, and the boy had gone at their orders in another boat, which caught 3 good fish in the first week. The old man had taught the boy to fish, and the boy loved him. The old man was gray and wrinkled, with deep furrows in the back of his neck, and his hands had the deep creased scars from handling heavy fish on the cords. But none of these scars were fresh. They were as old as erosions in a fishless desert. Everything about him was old except his eyes, and they were the same color as the sea. Were cheerful and undefeated. It made the boy sad to see the old man come in each day with his skiff empty. He always went down to help him carry either the coiled lines or the gaff and harpoon of the sail that was furled around the mast. The sail was patched with flour sacks and furled. It looked like the flag of permanent defeat. No one would steal from the old man, but it was better to take the sail and the heavy lines home, as the dew was bad for them. And though he was quite sure no local people would steal from him, the old man thought that a gaff and a harpoon were needless temptations to leave in a boat. The successful fishermen of that day were already in and had butchered their marlin out, carried them laid full length across 2 planks to the fish house, where they waited for the ice truck to carry them to the market in Havana. Can I offer you a beer on the terrace? The boy asked. Why not? The old man said, between fishermen.
Two beers, Martin, please.
They sat on the terrace, and many of the fishermen made fun of the old man, and he was not angry. He did not remember when he had attained humility, but he knew he had attained it, and he knew it was not disgraceful, and it carried no true loss of pride. Some of the older fishermen looked at him and were sad, but they did not show it. They spoke politely about the currents and the depths they had drifted their lines at, and the steady good weather, and of what they had seen.
Santiago,
Yes.
can I go out and get the sardines for you tomorrow?
Oh, no. You play ball. I can still row and I can still throw the net.
I know where I can get 4 fresh baits.
I still have mine from today.
Let me get 4 fresh ones.
1,
2.
2. You didn't steal them, did you?
I wouldn't, but I bought these.
Thank you.
If I cannot fish with you, I'd like to serve in some way.
You bought me a beer. You are already a man.
So this is the mental pain, that he suffers on. Now moving on to the physical pain. To quote Ernest Hemingway, he woke with a jerk of his right fist coming up against his face and the line burning out through his right hand. The narrator describes Santiago's thought when he says, he was stiff and sure now, and his wounds and all of the strained parts of his body hurt with the cold of the night. I hope I don't have to fight again, he thought. But by midnight he fought. He was missing Manolin because he was too old. He thought that during the epic struggle with the Marlin, had Manolin been with him, he would be able to catch it earlier and was able to defeat the sharks and all. Here is my next clip for you students.
Then he dreamed he was in the village on his bed, and there was a norther, and he was very cold, and his arm was asleep because his head had rested on it instead of a pillow. After that, he began to dream of the long yellow beach, and he saw the first of the lions, and he waited to see if there would be more lions, and he was happy. Then he dreamed of the whales that passed along this coast in the fall, and of their mating too, and of their friendliness with each other and of their play. For a long time, but he slept on, and the fish pulled on steadily, and the boat moved into a tunnel of clouds. He woke with the jerk of his fist coming up and the line burning out through his hand.
Now let us take it. Make him pay for the line. Make him pay for it. Show him what a man can do and what a man endures, he thought. A thousand times he had proved it meant nothing. Now he was proving it again. Each time was a new time, and he never thought about the past when he was doing it. If the boy were here, he could wet the coils of the line, he thought. Yes, if the boy were here, if the boy were here. has jumped and filled the sacks along his back with air. Now he cannot go down deep to die. He will start circling soon. Then I must start working on him.
You didn't do so badly for something that is worthless. Now I've done my best. He will begin to circle soon. Let the fight come.
The sun was rising for the third time since he had put out to sea. The fish was circling slowly, and the old man was wet with sweat and tired deep into his bones.
I could not feel myself. Now I'm dying a fish like this. Now that I have him coming so beautifully, God help me to endure. I will say 100 Our Fathers and 100 Hail Marys. But I cannot say them now. Please consider them said.
He felt faint again. I moved him in. The old man promised, and he could only see well in flashes.
Fish, you're going to die anyway. You have to kill me too.
He took all his pain and what was left of his strength and his long-gone pride, and he put it against the fish's agony.
I must get him close, he thought. I mustn't try for the head. I must get the heart.
Now I have killed this fish who was my brother. Now I must do the slave work. Get to work, old man.
Now this is very important because something here we are showing. Just a minute, I'll just go with my slide. Yes, the mental pain that he suffers is very, very important over here. I've shown you through my videos that the cuts, the cramp that he suffers from, he's all alone, he's too old, he misses the boy, but he's determined. Certain qualities that we'll be discussing on later is his friendly relationship with Manolin and his friendly relationship with the marlin as well, the fish. You might have noticed that he talks with the marlin that I've killed you, brother. Now he gives that status because he respects the opponent, because of the epic struggle of 2 days. Slide please. The next is the emotional pain. The narrator says he did not want to look at the fish. He knew that half of him had been destroyed. This is something very, very important because after catching the fish, the sharks were attracted, as I've said. The 3 pains. He overcomes it. I'll show you the clip later on. Moving on. Slide please. The friendly relationship with Santiago and Manolin. Manolin is very young boy. You might have watched into the movie as well, the clips as well that I've shown you. Manolin is a very, very young boy. But then too, he's a very good friend of the old man. And this is something that old man teaches. And through old man, Ernest Hemingway teaches that one should be adaptable to all age group. One of the biggest quality, the biggest strength that any person should have, and especially a global hero. that anybody can be your companion, and the relationship that he shares with Marlin is also very, very important, because here he suggests that don't be envious towards your enemy, and he says at one juncture that you have to kill me, Marlin, or I'll kill you. But he's determined that it is I who will win, because he's skilled. But he is never envious, he's never angry on the fish. On the contrary, he respects it. And when I'll show you the third clip of mine, it will be clear that in fact he feels sorry that why did I hunt this fish? Why did I caught this fish? Because the sharks that have eaten this fish don't deserve this fish at all. Moving on to my slide, please. Through Santiago's action, Hemingway teaches the reader about bravery and tenacity in the face of adversity. He demonstrates that even when all is lost, Santiago doesn't have a good house, his old days are behind him, his wife is no more. In fact, he doesn't have any portrait of his wife, because that feels that has a feeling of loneliness towards him. He feels that he is all alone when he sees to his wife's photo, and that is why he has removed it from his hut. Seems hopeless, everything seems hopeless, and willful heart will overcome anything. This is something very important, a major characteristic of a global hero through Santiago, that if there is a willful heart, where there is will, there is a way. You will overcome the pain. You will overcome every obstacle of your life. Next slide, please. He finally gets respect of the village. That is what he wanted. And succeeds in teaching Manolin, the young disciple of his, the lesson of faith and bravery. Each of these, courageous, bravery and friendship, are the qualities of a global hero. What makes him special is the fisherman craft. He's a very skilled fisherman. His eyes remain young, cheerful and undefeated. He knows how to rely on transient power of his own imagination and to engender the inspiration and confidence he needs to keep alive. This is something that is very, very, very important for the students to learn from Santiago. What can be said, the moral of the story? Man can be destroyed, but he cannot be defeated. This is something very, 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 very important, that a man can be destroyed but cannot be defeated. I'll show you a clip over here, and then I'll discuss this slide later on. The last clip.
He was a very big mako shark, built to swim as fast as the fastest fish of the sea. Now he speeded up as he smelled the fresher scent, and his blue dorsal fin cut the water. When the old man saw him coming, he knew that this was a shark that had no fear at all and would do exactly what he pleased. It's too good to be true. Might just as well have been a dream.
You'll see over here that he has killed the shark, the first shark. But he loses his harpoon. This is the point, the juncture where he loses his harpoon. And some part of the meat has been eaten by the shark, his fish, the marlin, the prize fish. Which the blood will now invite more fish, more sharks, and he is without a harpoon.
Now my fish bleeds again, and there will be others. It was too good to be true. The old man did not look at the fish anymore, since it had been mutilated. When the fish had been hit, it was as if he himself had been hit. But I killed the shark that hit my fish, he thought. He was the biggest dentuso I have ever seen. It was too good to last. He knew that each of the jerking bumps of the shark had been meat torn away, and that the fish now made a trail of blood for all sharks as wide as a highway through the sea. He knew quite well the pattern of what could happen when he reached the inner part of the current. But there was nothing to be done now. Yes, there is, he thought. I can lash my knife to the butt of one of the oars.
He tries to prepare one more harpoon.
He thought. You should have brought many things, but you did not bring them. Now is no time to think of what you do not have. Think of what you can do with what you have. You give me good counsel, he thought. I'm tired of it.
He makes the harpoon and kind of by attaching the knife to so that he will be able to kill sharks. He's trying hard to preserve his fish, but he doesn't know that he's...
Still an old man, but I will not be unarmed.
See the determination in him. He's not unarmed, he says. He's waiting and he watches more sharks to eat his marlin.
Ay, Galanos.
To preserve his fish, he'll fight with these sharks and will kill most of them.
Come on, Galanos. Come on, Galanos. Come on.
See, the sharks have started eating the marlin. Now he loses his knife as well. This is something very pathetic. He fights with whatever he has to preserve the marlin. But as you can see, half of the marlin has already been eaten by the sharks. You can see in the photo. Most of the things have been eaten.
went out too far, fish. No good for you nor for me. I'm sorry, fish.
This is something very, very, very important. He feels sorry for the fish. In fact, he thinks that he should not have gone so far, because this was very bad for the fish, because he had to kill the fish. And later on, what happened was that the marlin was so big for the sharks, but unfortunately, as it was dead, the sharks, they were attracted by the trail of blood, and they were eating the meat, the delicious meat. They were relishing it, and the old man was left all alone. He was not having anything to do, but he was all alone. He thought that it was too bad for him. My last slide, please. The last part. There are 3 D's in our life: desire, determination, devotion. But it starts with the 4th D: do it. And this is something that Santiago has taught us, that a man can be destroyed, but he cannot be defeated. He overcomes. A global hero always overcomes with all the pains that he has. Thank you from the studio. Thank you.